Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Yay.
We are filled with the giggles today. So, welcome. I hope this is contagious for you if we just break out in laughter. So today, one of the things that we were doing, because we meet every Sunday to record these episodes, and we also go back to our previous episodes and write the show notes and prepare everything for it to become live for you guys to enjoy. And one of the things that occurred this morning in our preparation of this information is we realized that sometimes there's a lot of wisdom that's being spoken in this, and we need to refresh ourselves on this. So, in specifics, we were listening to the perspective episode, which we'll link below, but Shira, like, fill me in on where
Yeah.
you're at with this.
It's we do the practice, right? Where we're becoming more self-aware every time in that shifting perspectives episode. And when we're going in and we're listening back to our episodes, right? And so in order for us to do our show notes, we have to listen to the full episode sometimes, because sometimes when we record these things, it's like a few weeks behind.
Mhm.
Per when we're going to post them, right? And so I had a situation this morning where I kind of like went off the top of my rocker a bit, but then
Well, you got caught in the moment.
I got caught in the moment for sure.
Mhm.
And then I'm sitting here with you this morning and we're listening back to this episode, trying to, do the show notes and pick the reels that we're going to use and stuff for Instagram. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, ooh, this would have been a great moment to like listen to my own self, right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that is something that I find is very encouraging, because it actually helped me listening to that. It helped me come back into the thing that I practice and that I try to
Mhm.
practice and that we share with you guys to practice. And that is the shifting the perspectives and all that fun stuff. Right. But this is like where we were like, this is probably why people tell you to journal. So, right. And sometimes our journaling may actually be a video recording. Like I myself, I'm not a really big writing person, right? Carrie does all of our show notes when she's the beautiful writer for us. And you're really good at journaling. You're
Mhm.
fantastic at journaling. I'm not. I'm really good at picking up my phone and recording myself talking into it. And then sometimes I go back and listen to, I think I said something, about this like several weeks ago or whatever. So that's a different type of way to do journaling. But for
Mhm.
those of you that are really good and it is encouraged to write, we have an announcement to make.
Yes. So we are excited to announce that we are creating our own journals, and they will be available to you on Amazon. And we plan to link our Amazon Associates account in our website. So on lovealwaysself.com under shop, you should be able to find our Amazon shop.
I know, I'm so excited because they're really pretty. It's like all those things that you're missing that you wanted to like find in a journal or something that's like helpful, like something about gratitude or practicing gratitude on a daily basis. And it just kind of helps you like guide yourself through that.
Mhm.
It gives you a little bit more of that direction, or we'll just have like also different types of journals where it's more free-handed, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I know one of the journals that we're looking at creating right now is going to be for those artists of you, where you have blank pages to just draw and sketch.
Mhm.
I like those because this gives you an opportunity to put those visual aspects that you're receiving messages from, especially if you're more, what is it called? What's the Claire for visual? Is that
Uh,
clairsentient?
I think that's clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Sentient, I guess, would be the nose.
Knowing. It's
Knowing.
knowing.
Was it
Yeah.
knowing? I was like, what's the nose? What's the word for the nose, right?
I don't remember the scent one where you
Right.
receive smells.
That's the one I've been getting a lot lately. It's weird. Anyway, digressing. So yeah, check that out. But it's interesting when you realize, and this was kind of the download that I got earlier today, while Carrie was playing her magical raise the vibe music, which we do sometimes before we record. Um, And I got this message and I was listening to the message that I was receiving because it kind of kept feeling like something was trying to get my attention. And I was being so stuck in my moment that I was like, I'm not listening to you today. And and then it just became very prominent that I needed to hear this message. And then I realized it sounded like me. And then I realized that it was me. And the message was very clear to like, you should take your own advice sometimes, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You should listen to the messages that you also produce, not just for other people, but it's also for yourself.
Mhm.
And and that's so helpful. It's so helpful to realize that, oh my gosh, I have this knowledge and this ability within me to be more understanding, to be able to, you know, relate to situations. And yet my future self was literally like, hey, girl, you're going through it this morning, but do you remember that this is what you did? And it happened for a reason that you're listening back at that episode on this day in this now moment.
Let's just call it what it is. It's
Right.
divine timing.
Yeah, I know. It's so
You know,
beautiful.
there's no accident to why we were listening to it today and you needing to hear it today.
Yeah.
I don't I believe less and less in coincidences and
Right.
more in source incidences.
Right. Oh, that's good. I agree.
But, what I think this helped with is, your message from your higher self reminded you that, no matter what path that you choose to take in the moment, you can always get off it and change courses.
That's so solid. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're just gonna say that one more time. The path that you choose to take, you can also get off of it and choose a different path
At any moment,
at
at
any
any
moment.
moment.
Yeah.
So, nothing's ever set in stone.
Yeah.
And so we can learn to let things go or adjust our own perspectives, learn to zoom out and observe ourselves. And it's not wrong that, you had the situation this morning that you did. It's
Yeah.
just a lesson. It's an opportunity to reevaluate and decide how you're going to do things differently in the future. And you just practice. It doesn't mean it's a switch on and off. You just, like we say, we put it into practice, and over time with practice, it gets easier.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And I wanna just, make sure that I take this back to like how can we listen to ourselves more often, right? I wanna make sure that the message we're trying to give today is pretty clear that it is extremely helpful to record yourself in certain situations, like especially when you have those moments where you're just like this like really strong thought comes through and you're like, "Whoa, that sounded intelligent." Grab your phone, put it in a notepad on your phone, record it, grab your journal, write it down. It is a lot. It's really helpful to even write your dreams down. Like if you remember them and you're recalling them as soon as you wake up, because as the
Mhm.
day goes on, you're going to start forgetting more and more. A lot of times there's like hidden information for yourself that, little lessons that you've been learning in the astral. Like in that, embedded in that. And sometimes it doesn't make sense until later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these are just opportunities for you to reference back to uh, pieces of wisdom that have been helpful to you in, guiding your course in life.
Yeah. And for those of you that are like me, I'm terrible about remembering that I should write something down. So so if you are like me, again, it's going to take practice. It's going to take a little bit of habit. I don't want to put any habits in for you to like have your phone with you 24/7.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if again, that's when the journals come in handy so you don't have to take the electronics with you everywhere. But
Or
yeah.
even just like a little, sketch pad or notepad by your bedside
Mhm.
or in
Yep.
your office, just someplace where you can scribble something down really quick and maybe write it down in a more legible space later.
I find that a lot of my thoughts come through for me in the mornings when I'm driving to work.
Mhm.
And so I actually have a notepad and a pen in my car, like in the little pocket on the side of the door. And so again, when I'm not driving, As soon as I
I was
get
gonna say
parked.
that might be worse than texting and
Yeah,
driving.
don't do that. That's difficult. So when I get to my destination and I'm fully stopped and I'm safe, I will write down what just popped into my head at that moment.
Mhm.
And sometimes it makes sense. And sometimes I'm like, what the heck? And I have no idea what that means. But start to build that relationship with you. Start to trust that you do know you better than anyone else and that will probably make sense to you later. So,
And if we are a being created from source by source, and if we have this constant connection,
mhm.
because if we believe that, science, that when you separate two particles, they are responding to separate influences the same.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. So if those are all true, then you have a connection to the all knowing,
Mm.
which means that you can receive information from within when you go within.
It's like the
You are a
conscious.
vastly intelligent being. Yeah, you're connecting to the collective consciousness.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you have so much intelligence, so much guidance, so much love connected to you at all times. It's just opening ourselves to receive that and connecting to it.
Yeah. And a really good practice to doing that, and I use this trick every once in a while. Um, I'll just do the deep breathing exercise, the 5 count in real slow, the 8 count out. That kind of helps you slow your heart rate down a bit, put you in a calmer state, drop the tongue from the roof of your mouth, unclench your jaw. We just posted about that recently. Um, and that'll automatically help your body go into a more relaxed state. And then once you're in that state, again, it doesn't have to be like a fully deep dive meditation. Just ask, and you can say it out loud. It does carry vibration and frequency, or you can think about it, still also carries vibration and frequency. And just ask the question, I want to know about blah, 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 blah. I give, Mount Glass permission to interact with me in this now moment and help provide me. And I'm asking you for your help to provide me with, it doesn't have to be word for word, but just somewhere in that realm. And now they have permission to start interacting with you in this 3D environment that we're in and give you the information that you're looking for. So if it's saying something like, I don't know, I want to, I cannot remember the name of this book and I would love to see this book again, right? I You'll eventually test this out, play with it, right? If you don't believe
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
do it yourself. And so, and you will eventually either it'll dawn on you what the name of the book is somewhere throughout your day, or maybe
You're going to see an ad
you're
for
gonna see
it.
an ad for it, right? It's really cool how it works. If you're getting kind of more subliminal messages, I actually did this with my guides recently, where I was like, okay, I feel like you're trying to communicate with me, but I feel like I'm not understanding what it is you're trying to say. I need you to be crystal clear. Just give me a very clear sign what you're trying to tell me. And the next thing I know, I got the number 13 repeatedly for 2 days straight. And it was actually to the point of like, I don't even know. It was kind of crazy. Matter of fact, it's 103 right now.
Yeah. I was just looking at that.
And I'm like, just like that, right? And then I like looked up what is the significant sign of the number 13 or angel number 13, right? And then what the message responded with was like exactly what I needed to hear. And I was like, oh crap. It's stuff like that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
there is an interaction with you in this physical world and those that you cannot see, just so you're clear.
Yeah. And if you need more tangible guidance, you ask for that.
Right.
And be open to receiving it too. So that's a key in that whole process, is being open to receiving. So if you are again asking for that book, but you're not willing to look as well, right?
Yeah.
Look at what's in front of you and be open to being like, oh, there's that little tiny ad over there. And that's exactly the book that I was looking for.
Yeah. I
So if we're closed off to it, then we may not even observe it. And who knows? We just walk by the end cap at HEB or the grocery store and there it is.
illegal son of a gun. Look at that. Yeah, those are fun. Those are fun when that happens. Yeah, anyway, so other things to assist us in receiving information back from our future selves, I guess. It's kind of weird to say that out loud. You're like, I'm getting some information from my future self back here, but I'm not back here. I'm right now. I'm having
Mhm.
a moment with this thought process.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
See it going in circles.
yeah. Kind of mind blowing.
So,
Anyway.
when you hear something that feels like important information, bookmark it,
Mhm.
save it for later. Write your, little downloads in your journal. I do agree that morning time for me is a more clear time to receive because I haven't gone throughout large portions of my day to distract me and disrupt that elevated connection.
Yeah.
So I do take time in the morning to sit and be open. And even if it's just writing down, like, I didn't sleep well last night,
Yeah.
you just start. It doesn't have to be anything profound.
Right.
Like, don't expect yourself to write something profound. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
And and the best information that I receive in the mornings, I'm typically receiving like one word at a time and writing it down and not understanding what it all means until I'm done writing it and I reread it.
That's very true, and that's actually how I learned automatic writing,
Mhm,
as well, and when I channeled using automatic writing, I don't try to make a sentence. I just
mhm,
write every word down.
mhm,
So, yeah, that's a really, really good practice, and if you are interested in doing automatic writing, I would recommend it's just me, my personal style at least. But I would definitely recommend taking what Carrie just said and just doing the one word at a time,
mhm.
and starting off with that.
I just related this to how I try to practice meditating. Because when I'm meditating, sometimes my mind gets too focused on putting words to what I'm experiencing in my meditation. And I have to remind my mind to quiet and
Mhm.
just observe. And we can evaluate it to, you know, as far as you want to go with it, for as long as you want to go with it afterwards.
Yeah.
So do the same thing with the writing.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow, get it out, and then reread it later.
Yeah. I used to do, no, I still do it. Okay, I'll be honest. I still do it. But I would take my little, really cheap tripod. It's not that expensive. You can link it down below if we want. But I would take my tripod and I'd put my cell phone in it, and I'd just sit over here in my little meditation area, and I put the phone and just record. And
Mhm,
then I would just
mhm,
sit there with my eyes closed, and then every thought that I had, I would almost say it out loud. Every image that I receive in my head or visually, because sometimes I get kind of visual ones, um, then I would just say them out loud. And then, like, a week later, I'll go back and listen to it, and then I realized how, like, even though it didn't make sense in that moment, it's now
mhm,
making sense as to what it was
mhm.
trying to tell me, um, which is pretty cool. So we recommend this practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, just to remind you guys, in case you didn't know, we're human, and we are, still struggling with the human condition as far as s- learning from it
Yeah.
and doing our self observation and our own self care and work. So, we again highly encourage you to go back and listen to things that are really speaking to you, because we do it too. We go back and we find stuff and we're like, oh man, I needed that reminder,
I did a few eye rolls today while we were
Oh
doing those
yeah,
notes. I was like,
yeah.
"Oh gosh." And I even actually wrote, "Shira, take your own advice," you know?
Easier said than done, but it's
Yeah,
worth the practice for sure.
yeah.
Okie dokie, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self. Again, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're on Apple iTunes, please, or Apple Podcasts, please leave a
Review.
thank you. Those do help to encourage circulation of our past episodes. And we really want to make sure that we are reaching as many people and supporting as many people as we can because we choose to love first.
Love last.
and love always.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all. Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first,
Love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.